Okay, so last lecture we talked about the central angle. Remember how I said the central angle is equal to the arc that it creates. Now, what if the angle is not in the center? What if it is actually on the circle? Okay, so before I look at our work, let's just say we have a circle here. And my angle is not going to be in the center, right? Here's the center, but my angle is not going to be there. I'm going to center it somewhere on the circle. For starters, let's say I create a 90-degree angle. We know this is 90. Now, one pretty cool thing, and I encourage you guys to do it. One pretty cool thing is that draw a circle, find a circle, and then on anywhere on the circle, draw a 90-degree angle, kind of like what I did. Now, this angle creates this arc. The funny thing is that if I connect these 2 points, see how my angle, when I do my angle, it touches the circle 2 other points. If I was to connect those 2 points, I'm going to do it with a dotted line. If I was to connect those 2 points, remember this is 90, it actually creates a diameter. Pretty cool thing. It creates a diameter. Now remember how a diameter cuts the circle in half. So I'm going to say this arc right here, it is 180 degrees. So I know yesterday or the last lecture, we talked about that the central angle was equal to the angle that it creates. Remember, central angle means the angle's in the center of the circle. Now this other angle, when the angle is on the circle, it is not the same measurement, but I'm just going to go the angle times 2. The angle times 2 gives me the arc, right? 90 times 2 equals 180. So the angle times 2, it's equal to the arc. Okay, so let's take a look at our work now. The circle is centered on point P. Points A, B, and C lie on the circumference, so they are on the circle. The measurement of angle ACB measures 16 degrees. So let me write that thing down. It didn't fit here, so basically that's the angle. ACB is equal to 16 degrees. Find the measure of angle APB. So we want to know how big is this angle. And I'm going to say it's not 16, okay? Now, remembered how I said the angle times 2, and I'm looking at the example that I just did before. Remember how I said the angle times 2, it's equal to the arc that it creates? So I'm going to say 16 times 2, because I'm looking at my angle 16 degrees. 16 times 2, I know is 32. So the arc AB is 32. Because remember how the angle ACB is 16. So the arc that it creates, let me extend this. The arc that it creates is 32. Remember, the angle times 2 is equal to the arc. Okay. Now, my question here was find the measure of angle APB. So let me do that here. Let me do that in red. APB is a central angle. Let me do this in red. Okay. Can we see the answer there? Can you guys see it? APB is a central angle. That angle creates the arc 32. Because now I know that arc is 32. So shouldn't this angle be also 32? Because remember how in our last lecture we said the central angle is equal to the arc that it creates. Now, if the angle is on the circle, then you go angle times 2. Okay, so now in this case, my answer is simple. Answer is just 32. Nice. Now let's take a look at question number 6. Solve for x, assume that lines which appear tangent are actually tangent. Now, tangent lines, tangent segments are those segments that touch the circle only once. So this line right here appears to be tangent. So we're going to say that is tangent, right? It touches the circle only once, which is right here at the point B. But then I see this other part here. Okay. Let me just say that I see an angle here, that erase. So I see that angle there. That angle is 6x minus 1. Is the vertex, let me ask you this. Is the vertex, right, the corner that the angle makes, is the vertex inside, like in the center of the circle, or is the vertex on the circumference of the circle? Okay. The center, the vertex, the corner of the angle, it's on the circumference of the circle. So that means I know the angle is 6x minus 1, right? You guys see that angle 6x minus 1. So I'm going to say the arc, so this arc that it makes is going to be 12x minus 2. All I did was I saw the angle and I multiplied everything by 2. Because the angle times 2, it's equal to the arc that it makes. All right, so the arc is 12x minus 2. Now, I see 19x plus 21. If to begin with, 19x plus 21 was here, then I would let those two equal each other because that arc has 2 measurements, right? Let the 2 measurements equal each other and solve for x, right? That can be done. So like I said, if the 19x plus 21 was here, then I would let them equal each other, but it is not. The 19x plus 21 is this arc. Want you to see something. Look at the circle. Look at the circles made by the red arc and by the black arc. So if I was to combine them, so that means if I was to add those two, so 12x minus 2 plus 19x plus 21 equals the whole circle. Isn't the whole circle 360? So I'm going to say this is equal to 360. I'm going to say sometimes you will have to let them equal each other. Sometimes you have to add them up and equals 360. Here, I'm adding everything equals 360 because it is the 2 arcs that make the whole circle. If I had 19x plus 21 here, I would have let them equal each other. Okay, you're going to deal with both cases in your homework. Okay, so now this looks like a simple algebra question. I remember in algebra, we were told combine like terms if possible. So look at your x's. 12x plus 19x. We can combine that, right? 12 plus 19 is 31. So I'm going to call this 31x. And then I see a -2 plus 21. I can combine those, right? -2 plus 21 is 19. So I'm going to call this 31x plus 19 is equal to 360. I just combined like terms to make it smaller. I wish I could combine the 19 with the 360, right? Because they are like terms. They don't have a letter. And I'm going to say I will. I will be able to combine them. It's just that I have to move the 19 from one side of the equal sign to the other side. Notice how I did my little line segment here at the beginning to separate it through the equal sign. So that way I know one side, there's the left side, and there's the right side. So I'm going to move the 19 over to the other side, but I'm going to call it -19. Remember, I got to switch the sign. All right, I remember your algebra teacher must have said opposite signs, okay? So I'm just going to say that 31x on the left side, I just have 31x. On the right side, 360 minus 19 is 341. Okay. Now, to get the x by itself, let me divide by 31, which is the number in front of x. I'm going to cancel them out because 31 divided by 31 is 1. So 1x, it's basically just x. 341 divided by 31 is 11. So x is equal to 11. My instructions were solve for x. So there you go. X is equal to 11. Now let's make it a little more interesting. Here we learned that the angle on the vertex, the corner of the circle, is the corner of the angle is on the circle, right? It's on the circumference of the circle. We just go the angle times 2. We learned that. So let's take a look at question 7 and 8 on our notes. So let's flip the page. Let's make this a little more interesting. I'm solving for x here. Okay, so I'm gonna say here, I know that this arc in black is 192 because it was made by the angle 96. Okay, so I know that's 192, the whole arc. Part of it is 118. So I'm gonna say this arc right here, it is 74, right? Because 192 minus 118. Remember, this whole thing right here, it is 192. Right? I just got that from 96 times 2. I went 192 minus 118, so I figured this was 74. Okay, let me erase this right here. So I figured that that was 74. Now, another thing that I see, this is 118th, this is 74, and this is 78. So I can add them all up, right? I can find out how big is that arc. So I'm just gonna go 118 plus 74 plus 78. So I figure the whole arc is 270. This whole thing is 270. Okay, so does that mean this arc right here is 90? So the arc GF is 90. How do I know? Because it completes the circle. Remember, the whole circle is 360. Okay. Okay, so I just completed some information that I needed. I see that I was able to get some measurements. Okay, cool. Now I have to figure out x, right? The instructions are solve for x. So I see x is in this angle. So I'm just gonna go 6x plus 14. I'm gonna multiply everything by 2, right? Because the angle times 2, it's equal to the arc that it creates. What's 118 plus 90? 208, right? Okay. So the angle times 2 is equal to the arc that it creates. You see it? 6x plus 14. I'm going to multiply everything times 2. So you see that's why I use parentheses. 6x plus 14 multiplied everything times 2 equals to the arc that it creates, 208. Okay, now the rest is just algebra. So let me separate my sides with the equal sign. Let me get rid of parentheses. Let me literally multiply by 2. So that's going to give me 12x plus 28 is equal to 208. I want to combine like terms. I want to combine the 208 and the 28. So this plus 28, let me move it over to the other side as a minus 28. Don't forget to switch the sign. So that gives me that 12x. Now, how much is 208 minus 28? Well, 180. Okay. So let me divide both sides by 12. So x equals, right? Because 12 divided by 12 is 1, so 1x. So I'm just going to write it an x there. 180 divided by 12 is 15. My instructions were solve for x, so x is equal to 15. My answer, don't forget, like always, just write down the number. You don't have to type in x equals, just type 15. All right, let's take a look at number 8. I see this angle is 5x plus 9. So I'm going to say this arc is 10x plus 18. I just multiplied everything in the angle times 2. So that arc is 10x plus 18. Now, number-wise, I see 101 and I see 151. If I was to combine those two arcs, that gives me 252. So this red arc, I'm going to say it is 252. So how much is the black arc? Well, just go 360 minus 252 is equal to 108. So I know this arc is 108. So wait a minute, I know that black arc is 10x plus 18, but I also know the black arc is 108. I know two measurements for that arc. So shouldn't I just let them equal each other? So I'm just going to say 10x plus 18 is equal to 108. Okay, let me separate them to the equal sign. This plus 18, let me move it over as a minus 18. Don't forget to switch the sign. So that gives me on the left side, I just have 10x equals 108 minus 18. Use a calculator necessary. I get 90. Now I see a 10 in front of the x, so let me divide both sides by 10. So x is equal to 90 divided by 10 is 9. So x is equal to 9. Nice.